So Everton pull off a massive upset. Well, if we can even still call it an upset, Janusz Michallik over Manchester United, a 1-0 win, scenes at Goodison Park, because we all know the story for Everton now. They were literally fighting for their lives in the Premier League, a little too close for comfort to the relegation zone. Janusz, Manchester United just continuously fighting against everything, it seems. We'll talk about Man United in a bit because we know that we're tempted to go there, but Everton, absolutely stubborn, refused to give anything away to Manchester United. How did you, or what did you make of how Everton put together this win?
Well, I think for the first time, I've been kind of looking for a plan for Frank Lampard, right? I mean, we've questioned him, rightly so. It wasn't an easy job, but I think he knew what he was getting into, and there was no identity. Today, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't beautiful, but at the very least, you could see from the beginning that they want to keep it tight. They set back, they allowed Manchester United to have possession throughout the game for the most part, right? And when they had those chances, they went forward. They didn't create anything special in particular, but they looked dangerous from time to time, and they had the spirit, they had the belief, and of course they were home, right? Because we all know what Everton are away from home. I think Sean Dyche said that last time around, right? But the crowd were always behind him. I think you can say that about every game they played at Goodison Park. So they saw it through fight and spirit, quite the opposite to Manchester United.
Well, you're right. Sean Dyche said he's not sure that these lads know how to win a game, but that's exactly what they did today. And you talk about this identity of Frank Lampard and what it probably will be for the future. This is definitely a mountain that they got over, but they have a couple of big mountains as well, including the Merseyside derby, including matches against Chelsea, Arsenal, 2 against Leicester. The job is far from over, Janusz. From what you saw today, what do they need more of going forward to guarantee that they will not be getting the draw?
These sort of performances, right? And of course, improve away from home. But, I mean, this is not about style at this stage anyway, but for Everton to be under that sort of pressure, to lose to Burnley, I think today they've given themselves a big cushion, right? Burnley has to win, I think, in Norwich. Even if they did, you look at Watford's facing Leeds, so something's got to give there as well. And those are two teams that are very much interested. So, there's a bit of a gap, 4 points now for Everton. They look up. Leeds, who knows, may get a little bit nervous as well. And as I've said, that Watford Leeds is massive, and so is Norwich against Burnley as well. So these are super important 3 points, because no matter what you think about Manchester United, the run that Everton have been on, right? I mean, it's not a given that you're going to get 3 points against United at home or away. So that's all you can ask for if you're Frank Lampard. I think how good he is and what's going to happen in the future can wait for now, because I mean, Everton haven't been in this situation. When was the last time they've been relegated? 1954, right? So I mean, first things first, and that's safety. After that, I think we can sit down and talk, is this team good enough? Is Frank Lampard is good enough? It didn't matter today.
All right, well, let's talk about Manchester United now. It's almost like, what else is there to say? This performance, again, Janusz, kind of just underlines a lot of the things that we've been saying about United for this last season. What stood out to you today about how they were not able to break down Everton?
No leadership anywhere, on the pitch or on the sideline, right? I mean, let's start with Ralf Rangnick. He asked his team ahead of the game, for will and desire. I did not see that. I didn't. There was possession, but there wasn't that desire where everybody were on the same page. I mean, you look at the body language and players talking to each other. I just haven't seen it, right? Somebody's got to lead that. And, but the first and foremost is Ralf Rangnick. I'm very disappointed in him. I thought he was going to be a good appointment, but let's face it. I mean, this team is getting worse and worse with every game. There's no improvement as a whole on the team. I don't think he's improved any players for sure. I mean, you look today, and we all know, the level of confidence for Marcus Rashford. Had those 2 chances, didn't take them. After that, I mean, he was so poor. I mean, if you put together Jadon Sancho and Rashford, they didn't take anybody on until like 70th or 75th minute. They didn't win one duel. And towards the end, I think sometimes by chance maybe or mistake, you do it. But both Jadon Sancho didn't improve. Rashford, of course, is not improving as well. We can go player by player. Cristiano Ronaldo, that shot in the 92nd minute, maybe the only thing he did all game, right? So when you look at this team as a whole, it's just regressing with every game, and you have to put that down to managers. But then again, I could say, look, I mean, Manchester United are a graveyard for managers. That's what it is. I mean, ever since Sir Alex, nobody has figured this out. And if I'm Ten Hag right now, I'm still asking questions. I don't know if I'm jumping on it. I know where there's a chaos, there's an opportunity. And we keep saying Manchester United, a massive club. Somebody eventually is going to figure it out. But I tell you what, I mean, this is going to take years. I mean, just imagine, Manchester United, for example, I mean, you can throw Everton to some degree, but let's just look at Manchester United. I mean, tomorrow, imagine being their fan and look at Manchester City, their biggest rival, and Liverpool playing, for all the marbles, and the gap that's before even that game. But everybody's talking about that. It's just crushing because Alexis, I look at this team and it seems to me that there's going to have to be changes, but there are changes that are going to take 2, 3, 4 years maybe if this keeps going.
And I mean, you literally hit the nail on the head there when you said it looks like United just keep regressing with every game. And that was exactly going to be my next question, because if you're Erik ten Hag, what are you thinking looking at this? There's everyone, of course, talking on social media. And before it seemed like they were saying when Ten Hag comes in, maybe he should get rid of 3, 4, 5 players. Now some of the comments suggest maybe 10 players, maybe this whole 11, maybe even Ronaldo. If you're Erik ten Hag, are you just looking at, wow, we need to start from zero?
Well, yes, but I mean, that's obvious. I think he would get the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, I don't think Manchester United can ever start from zero. This is Manchester United. This is arguably the biggest club in the world if you look at the fan base and all that. It used to be Real Madrid and Manchester United, right? So there's some responsibility to that. But I think if you're Erik ten Hag, you say to yourself, how much can I trust this board? Who's going to be making those decisions, right? And what sort of players am I going to get? Am I just going to get empty promises that don't materialize, right? Because think about it, a lot of clubs are very progressive already. They already know who they're getting. I mean, there's already talks, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not on the inside, but I pretty much doubt that right now Manchester United are talking to the players that may be needed, or players that Erik ten Hag can say, yes, I can do something with that, right? Because everybody's waiting right now, and a lot of the players are probably figuring out after this game that Manchester United aren't getting to the Champions League. I mean, if you look at this game and you say to yourself, well, Arsenal are playing and Spurs are playing, if one of them wins, that's a 7-point gap. I just don't see how that's happening right now. So obviously you kind of want to look ahead and you want to speak to the board and say, well, I would need improvement here. And usually you kind of throw out some names out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's happening. So it's good. It looks like Erik ten Hag, but if I were him, I'd go back and ask some more questions because, again, graveyard at the moment for managers.
And one more point before we wrap up, because you mentioned the fact that Man United once again just looked like they have no leadership at all. And you look at the names on the pitch. So starting with Cristiano Ronaldo, you have the Paul Pogbas that are there as well. David De Gea, who's also an experienced player, he probably did one of the better jobs today as well. But are you surprised time and time again, week after week, that none of these names seem to take on that leadership role, which is clearly something that the club so desperately needs right now, at least on the pitch?
Yeah, I just don't know if they think that they're good enough. And, that's how you find out that you don't have a team, because, every one of those big time players probably thinks that they're too good a little bit. And I know it may be a reach on my part, but I've been part of teams where you say the right things, but you kind of feel like, no, this is not good enough. We're not going to get places. And to some degree, it's true, right? I've mentioned Liverpool and Manchester City, those are special teams, but I mean, could you name one player that would make the starting 11 of either of those teams? Probably not. I go towards De Gea, but even that's a question mark. As good a season as he's had, those two teams have pretty good goalkeepers. So I just think that within some of these players already know that's it. You look at Mata coming off the bench. He actually didn't look bad. That was his first minutes in the Premier League right now. People will go, oh, I can't believe Matic is playing. Well, that's not his fault. They've kept him for such a long time and he's trying his best, but his best is past it, right? So, those are not the players that you look at, right? But you look at the decline of Harry Maguire, right? I mean, obviously today they were missing Luke Shaw and Varane, but they haven't been absolutely great as well. Scott McTominay, I think if you're talking about will and desire, at least he has that. We can sit here and argue how good of a midfielder he is, but that's missing, and that's a big ask, because at least for me, he consistently has shown that he's in for the fight, right? And unfortunately, he wasn't in today. Early injury to Fred, who's been better, but I almost want to say, like, we're kind of, the team has been so bad that, okay, he's been better, but how good is he really? So, I mean, there are problems everywhere, all over the pitch. This is not an issue just in one or two positions. You could almost question every player on that team. And we are talking Manchester United. And, I have a ton of respect for that team, for the name, what they have done in the future. And I just can't believe that we're talking about this team in these terms, a team without a fight.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.